In this module, we will study water-soluble fertilizer, its application practices, and micro-irrigation system operation and maintenance. Water-soluble fertilizer segment is probably the fastest growing agri-input segment at present in India. Because of the high thrust given by the Government of India and many state governments in promoting drip irrigation system, this segment has been experiencing high growth rate during the last 3 to 5 years and is expected to continue to grow at a high rate for at least the next 10 to 15 years. To realize this, consistent quality of the products, timely availability, good education of the growers in proper use, and effective service are essential. All the stakeholders in this business segment have a high stake during this development stage of water-soluble fertilizers in India. Proper fertigation management requires knowledge of fertigation rate and nutrient uptake by the crops to ensure maximum crop productivity. Application of fertilizers through drip irrigation or fertigation, as it is popularly called, is the most efficient way of application of both fertilizer and irrigation water. Fertilizer use efficiency, FUE, will be very good through fertigation even if only 70 to 75% of the recommended dose of fertilizer is applied through fertigation. Crop productivity is a cumulative effect of many factors contributing to crop production. These are varieties, soil organic matter, water management, crop protection measures, and balanced nutrient application.
It is known that irrigation and high-yielding varieties contributes annual crop to the rate of 25% and perennial crop to the rate of 10%. Balanced crop nutrition, it contributes the productivity for annual crops at the rate of 50% and perennial crops to the rate of 60%.
Plant protection also contributes 15% in the annual crops and 10% in the perennial crops. Cultural management techniques contributes 10% to the annual crops and 20% to the perennial crops. Water-soluble fertilizers are very important sources or carriers of plant nutrients. Their usage and proper management, therefore, is an important factor contributing to the success of crop production. There are 5 categories of land holding in this image. I will explain only one, that is the first large land holding. This group is having 10% of the total Indian area and they use only 6% of total nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus fertilizer, and they contribute to 35% of total agricultural production. This is mainly because of the nutrient use efficiency. This nutrient use efficiency is very high in this particular land holding. With 10% of the area, they contribute 35% of the total production. Similarly, now I am comparing global horticulture productivity. Indian horticulture productivity is very low. It is at 8.6 tons per hectare, and when we compare it to the other countries like China, Brazil and the world, we realize that it is very low. This is mainly because of the water fertilizer that we are and the other countries are using. What is the history of water-soluble fertilizers in India? Let's look at the past. In 1992, there was a technology which was first promoted in India, which was in Maharashtra. In 1993, first trials were conducted on high-value crop. Commercial distribution was started in the year 1995. In 1997, Government of Maharashtra notified the WSF, which is water-soluble fertilizers. And finally, in 2003, Government of India subsequently notified under FCO. Advent's group is having 8 grades of WSF. At Advent's group, we are having 8 grades of WSF. These are all Kisaan water soluble fertilizers. Let's look at them one by one. Purna 19 has the ratio of NPK as 19:19:19, and that's why it's called Purna 19. The second one is potassium sulfate, which is also called Sulfo 50. It is sulfate of potash. It has a ratio of NPK as 0:0:50. It has potassium. The third one is MAP, which is also monoammonium phosphate. Monoammonium phosphate is called Atom 61. It has a ratio of NPK as 12:61:0. Nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium in the ratio of 12:61:0. The next one, which is the fourth one, is potassium nitrate, which is Mangala potassium nitrate, which has a ratio of NPK as 13:0:45. The fourth one is monopotassium phosphate, which is also called Boost 52. It has a ratio of NPK as 0:52:34. The sixth one is 13:40:13. It is Mangala NPK. The ratio is 13:40:13 for nitrogen is to phosphorus to potassium. So the NPK ratio is 13:40:13. The seventh is calcium nitrate. It's called Calnet 19. It only has two nutrients, which is calcium and nitrate. It has the calcium in the proportion of 18.8% and nitrogen in the ratio of 15.5%. The eighth water soluble fertilizer of Kisaan is Wedge Grow. It has a ratio of NPK as 16:8:24. So these are all the 8 fertilizers that we have spoken about. With the use of these fertilizers in foliar and irrigation water, which is fertigation, it is possible to release the nutrients as and when the plants require them. Now let's look at the advantages of drip and WSF. Look at the nutrients distribution pattern in the figure. Surface irrigation and applying fertilizers, there's a lot of leaching under this condition, as we can see in the image. A lot of nutrients are only there at the surface and very few nutrients are reaching the bottom to the roots. The second one is when we are having drip irrigation, but nutrients are applied by bulk fertilizers and a lot of localized nutrients are there, which means that a lot of nutrients are localized in one area only and they're not spread out. The third one is the best one, which is the drip fertigation. This is drip plus fertigation. With drip plus fertigation, we have uniformity of nutrient distribution. The uniformity of nutrient distribution is very high and nutrient use efficiency is also very good. And as we can see in the image, all the nutrients have uniformly distributed. While traditional nutrient management is mainly through application of bulk fertilizers, this practice suffers from low nutrient use efficiency. 30 to 50% nitrogen, 20% phosphorus and 50% potash as given in the table. So the fertilizer use efficiency in soil application is 30 to 50 nitrogen, 20 in phosphorus and 50 in potash. The second option, what farmers are doing is that they are installing drip but application of nutrients again by soil application of bulk fertilizer by this method is slightly higher, and it is at 65% of nitrogen, 30% for phosphorus and 60% for potassium. The challenge in agriculture now is to improve the nutrient use efficiency, which can be achieved by sound soil health management, precision in nutrient management, and adopting other integrated practices. All these require applying water-soluble fertilizers through drip irrigation. When we apply water-soluble fertilizers with drip irrigation, there's a tremendous improvement of nutrient use efficiency. The improvements are that it leads to 95% of nitrogen use, 45% of phosphorus and 80% potassium. And we can see how this has improved tremendously as compared to the soil application and the drip. Along with this, there are many other advantages of using water-soluble fertilizers. And these are, water-soluble fertilizers are completely safe and they are suitable for use in foliar spray as well as drip irrigation. They can be applied daily. So if proper feeding schedule is followed, then these can be applied daily depending on the plant requirement. The fertilizers used can be reduced by 25 to 35%. In addition to improving soil health and increasing crop yield, foliar spray will also save time and energy of farmer. Fertigation increasing nutrient use by 40% to be popularized by fruits. The next thing we'll talk about is promoting fertigation and water-soluble fertilizers. Fertigation increasing nutrient use efficiency by 40% to be popularized for fruits, vegetables, flowers and plantation crops. Holds great promise as micro-irrigation, use of fully water-soluble fertilizers. Let's look at these fertilizers one by one. The first fertilizer we'll talk about is Purna 19. We can see the pack shots of the same. Purna 19 has NPK in the ratio of 19:19:19. The composition of Purna 19 is such that it has NPK in the ratio of 1:1:1, which leads to uniform mixing. It is well crushed with automated machine, which means that there are no urea granules which are visible. MKP, which is monopotassium phosphate, is used in place of SOP, which is sulfate of potash. N, which is nitrogen, is present in nitrate, ammonial and amide form in the balance of 4,4.5 and 10.5%. In Purna 19, natural coloring agent is used and its accuracy in weight is there because of automated balance. Purna 19 is also helpful for establishing healthy vegetative growth. The next water-soluble fiber we'll talk about is Atom 61, which is monoammonium phosphate. The pack shots are on the screen. Monoammonium phosphate has NPK in the ratio of 12:61:0. It is procured from very good sources in the world. and phosphoric acid is manufactured by dry process, and hence there is a higher purity. This is the product which has the highest P content, and N is in ammoniacal form, which is for better nitrogen and phosphorus availability. This is because of acidity. The technical name of atom 61 is monoammonium phosphate. Monoammonium phosphate is helpful at the stage of flower setting and also at panicle emergence. The next water-soluble fertilizer we'll talk about is monopotassium phosphate, also known as Boost 52. The proportion of nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium in Boost 52 is 0 to 52 to 34. Phosphoric acid is manufactured by dry process and therefore there's a higher purity. The preferred source of phosphorus and potassium when nitrogen requirement is low because of stage of late flowering, fruit formation and grain filling. MKP, which is monopotassium phosphorus, is an efficient suppressor of powdery mildew in susceptible crops which are deciduous, vineyards, mango, cucumbers, melons, roses and others. This can be used at early vegetative stages and therefore they promote root development. The technical name of Boost 52 is monopotassium phosphate. The next water-soluble fertilizer we'll study is Boon 45. Boon 45 has the ratio of NPK as 13:0 to 45. It is procured from SQM, which is a Belgium-based company. It is useful at fruits development stage. The technical name of Boon 45 is potassium nitrate. It has non-interference with calcium uptake and it can also be mixed with all water-soluble fertilizers. The next water-soluble fertilizer is 13% nitrogen, 40% phosphorus and 13% potash. So the name itself is the NPK composition, which is 13:40:0. This product is a very low nitrogen to potassium ratio and therefore it ensures that there is no seed burning and there is a healthy root growth. It is very useful at flowering stage and has a very good combination for seed production and finally helps in seed development. The next product is Sulfo 50, also known as sulfate of potash. 0% nitrogen, 0% phosphorus and 50% potassium. Potassium is enriched with S, which is 17.5%. It helps in increased resistance to moisture stress, pests and disease attack. Sulfur 50 also helps in improving the quality of all crops and sugar content of fruits. The technical name of Sulfur 50 is potassium sulfate or sulfate of potash. The next water-soluble fertilizer we will study is calcium nitrate, also known as Calnit 19. This has only two nutrients, which is calcium and nitrogen, in the amount of 18.8% calcium and 15.5% of nitrogen. The composition is calcium 18.8% and nitrogen 15.5% in synergistic manner. Calnit 19 reduces rotting or cracking of fruits and blossoms end rot in tomato. It makes the crop resistant to disease. The technical name of Calnit 19 is calcium nitrate, and due to immobility of calcium, it can be given in all soil types. The next water-soluble fertilizer is Veg Grow. It has the NPK composition as 16:8:24. Veg Grow is a unique product with balanced nitrogen forms and required for vegetative growth, phosphorus for medium act, and potassium for development of reproductive parts. In Veg Grow, the composition of nitrogen is such that nitrogen total is 16% minimum, whereas nitrogen N, which is NO3, is at 5.5% maximum. Ammonia N, which is NH4, at 7.5% minimum, and uric N as NH2 at 3% maximum. Amide nitrogen, which is at 3%, is very low compared to other fertilizers, and it is agronomically very significant. They are readily soluble in water and easily decomposed by microorganisms in the soil. They are quickly changed into ammoniacal and then nitrate form and becomes available to the plants. Wedge grow contains major portion of nitrogen in ammoniacal and nitrate form, which are quickly made available to the plants. Wedge grow also contains water-soluble phosphate as P2O5 at 8% minimum. When wedge grow contains medium phosphorus at 8%, this helps in rooting and flowering. The amount of water-soluble potash is at 24%, which helps in development stage and finally improves the quality and the quantity of the produce. Sodium is at 0.25% maximum and moisture is at 0.5% maximum. So let's talk about the application details of WSF, which is all water soluble fertilizers which have the composition of nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. We're talking about the application details. If you're applying through foliar, then as foliar spray, 5 gram per liter of water at 30, 45 and 60 days after sowing and transplanting for all crops should be done. Plantation crops at the time of flowering should also be given, or those could be the crops planted in April to May and September to October. When applying through fertigation, 3 to 4 kg per acre through drip, which is we need to follow it crop wise chart. If you are applying it through soil drenching, then we need to mix 3-4 kg in 200 liter of water and then apply at the rate of 2 to 4 liters for plantation and fruit crops. All WSF sprays are suitable for foliar spray, fertigation and soil drenching, and they're also suitable for all vegetables, which are chili, tomato, capsicum, onion, cabbage, cauliflower, brinjal and all other vegetables. For all fruit crops like banana, papaya, sapota, mango, etc. and plantation crops, which is arecanut, pepper, coffee and others. What is the compatibility of water-soluble fertilizers? We need to avoid calcium-containing fertilizers mixing with phosphorus and sulfur fertilizer. For example, calcium nitrate should apply alone and it can be applied with potassium nitrate where 13:0:45 does not contain phosphorus and sulfur. So all the green ones are the ones which can be mixed together and the red ones can't be mixed together with them. So as we can see, calcium nitrate should not be applied with any of these. So Purna 19 can be combined with Purna 19, Atom 61, Boost 52, Boon 45 and not with Calinit 19 but with Sulfur 50. Similarly, Atom 61 and Boost 52, they also have the same compatibility. For Boon 45, everything is compatible. Calinit 19 is the one which is not compatible with most of the other water-soluble fertilizers. Calinit 19 is only compatible with either a Boon 45, which is compatible with all, or Calinit 19. And Sulfur 50 again cannot be combined with Calinit 19, but otherwise can be applied with all. Fertilizer mixers in the tank can reduce the solubility of the mixture due to formation of precipitates. What about the temperature levels? What happens to the WSF, which is water soluble fertilizer solubility, according to the temperatures? So as we can see in the chart that we have on the screen, the calcium nitrate has the solubility of 1020 at 0 degrees, but as the temperature increases from 0 to 30, the amount of absorption or the amount of solubility increases.
Sulfate of potash
Also shows a positive response in terms of increasing temperature, and the same is true for potassium nitrate. 0 is to 52 to 34, 12 is to 61 to 0, magnesium sulfate, and veg grow. So as we can see, going from the lower to a higher temperature, the solubility of fertilizer compounds increases. Among all the fertilizers, calcium nitrate is having the highest solubility and lowest is of sulfate of potash. Based on the solubility percent, we have to use the water for dilution. What are the indirect benefits of Jai Kisaan water soluble fertilizers? Jai Kisaan water soluble fertilizers are low pH grade, which keeps the irrigation system clean. They avoid inorganic scaling in the drip system. They eliminate use of hazardous acids. There is an increased solubility of secondary plant nutrients. They enhance availability of trace elements, calcium, and magnesium. They decrease volatilization losses of nitrogen. They have exceptional high nutrient analysis, and they can be used for application in soil and soilless irrigation systems. Drip irrigation technology provides tremendous benefits if the drip irrigation system is operated and maintained properly. Tune in for the helpful hints on how to use micro irrigations, monitor system parameters, schedule irrigations, and perform system maintenance. This is one of the ways that the drip irrigation works. This is a hypothetical network of drip irrigation. After starting the pump, let the pressure be stabilized. This is a typical pump which has a valve, backflow preventer, pressure regulator, filter, tubing adapter, drip tubing. The distance between emitters is of a minimum of 18 inches and we have an end cup. We need to check for leaks and correct the pressure at sub-main. It should be as per the design. If pressure is less, then we need to adjust it by throttle or bypass valve. Inspect the dripping and ensure that water is reaching all corners of the plot or field. And if at some portion water is not dripping correctly, then we need to find the cause and correct it. If a twist, fold, cut, puncture, etc. is found causing discharge variation, we need to correct it immediately. At the end of shift, inspect uniform wetting pattern. If dry patches are found, then we need to increase the duration of operation. We need to inspect throughout the field to detect precipitation, scaling, and clogging. If clogging is taking place, then the end dippers are the first affected. Take corrective actions if scales, precipitates are found. Monitor the mechanical damages by rodents, farm operations by labor, animal or machinery causing leakage, and correct it immediately by using proper joiners. These are our inlet and outlet filter pressures. We need to flush all the laterals by opening end plug 1 to 5 in a series and then close the end plug 1 to 5 in the same sequence, allowing flushing for 3 minutes until clean water starts flowing. Flush each sub-main at the end of every section till dirt-free clear water starts flowing. Check inlet and outlet filter pressures. Remove slurry from hydroclone. Backflush sand filter at every 5 hours. Flush screen or disc filters at the end of day's operation. Now let's discuss periodic or fortnightly maintenance. We need to repeat operations and take corrective actions. Take out the element of screen or disc filter and clean it thoroughly. Open the lid of sand or media filter manhole. Allow the water to come out through main hole. Stir the sand thoroughly by moving the hand in between filter mushrooms or candles without disturbing their position for thoroughly separating accumulated foreign material with media or sand for recharging its filtering capacity. This is a typical drip system layout that we can see on the screen, which has elements similar to any drip system. This is another one of the typical drip system that we can see on the screen, and all the elements are named here. There's a surface reservoir and pump. There are chemical injection tanks and equipment and drip lines. Everything is shown here. The commercial grade of acid recommended for acid treatment are hydrochloric acid HC1, which is 35%, nitric acid HNO3 33%, sulfuric acid H2SO4 65%, orthophosphoric acid H3PO4 85%. In most of the cases, the 0.6% application with irrigation of these commercial grades of acids bring down the pH between 2 to 4, capable of dissolving most of the precipitations. Most of the cases HC1 can be used, which is highly effective and cheapest of all, except the crops which cannot tolerate chloride. In that case, HNO3 or H2SO4 should be used. H2SO4 is not recommended where calcium, manganese salts are above 500 ppm. Acid treatment is always done before chlorination, or chlorination is effective under pH range of 6.5 to 8.5. If iron is present, do not use orthophosphoric acid, which is H3PO4, as iron would precipitate with phosphoric acid. H2O2, hydrogen peroxide, can also be used to bring down pH where use of other acids is not feasible. There are various steps in acid treatment. We need to select the most suitable acid and proceed as the first step: flush and clean filters, flush main, submain and lateral ends. Open inlet and outlet of venturi without disturbing its calibration settings. In case of fertilizer tank, create appropriate pressure differential between inlet and outlet by throttle valve. Do not spill the acid or chlorine on the fertilizer tank. After the injection of acid, allow acidified water to react with precipitated salts for about 4 to 6 hours. It is desirable to prolong the period for 24 hours. Then open the ends of the laterals and submain flush valve. Start on the pump and allow all the water to flow out. Measure the discharges of marked drippers, flush main, submain and laterals. If there is no significant improvement, repeat the treatment as above for all sections. At the end of the acid treatment, wash the equipment and vessels with clean water. Whip and dry, removing residue of acid. If clogging is observed due to algae or other causes, carry out chlorination treatment. run the system for half an hour more than normal irrigation schedule so that extra quantity of acid will be taken out of root zone. The next thing is to discuss the steps in iron and manganese treatment. If water analysis report shows higher amount of iron and or manganese, following measures can be taken. Oxidation by aerations allow iron to precipitate faster. Store the water in settlement tanks, as we can see on the screen, after stepped aeration to allow iron to precipitate down, and then pump the water for your system. Chlorination along with aeration can enhance rate of oxidation. Please note that the manganese impurities react slow with chlorine. Hence, they coagulate after the main filters. In such cases, either allow some additional reaction and precipitation time or use plot filters as secondary fine filter to avoid drip clogging, which cannot be cleaned by any chemical means. The last thing then to study is the steps in chlorination treatment. Precautions for chlorination. Chlorine is toxic to humans and animals. Do not have direct contact with skin, eyes, nose, mouth with any chlorine substance or Ci2 gas, as it is poisonous for humans and animals. Wear goggles, hand gloves, safety shoes, etc. during chlorination treatment. Vessels for the solution should be thoroughly washed to avoid accident by reaction. Never use fertigation of nitrogenous fertilizer during chlorination to avoid formation of sublime compound like ammonium chloride, etc. Never mix acid and chlorine solutions. Use another device of injection for acid prior to chlorine. For making or diluting solution of chlorine, add chlorine products into water, but do not pour water in chlorine substances or solutions. It can be done in three forms: Ci2 gas, which is 100% chlorine, sodium hypochlorite or NaOC1, which is 10% chlorine, or calcium hypochlorite CaOC1, which is 50 to 65% chlorine. Thank you.